Welcome back to the channel. We've got something a little bit different for you today. We're usually focused on fishing quite a bit and that type of stuff and some cooking videos, but today we've got an exciting video. We were out camping the other weekend and we all got talking a little bit about the best ways to start a fire other than a blowtorch and some charcoal. So we just got talking about some of the kind of survival type things, or if you're a little bit more hardcore camper, or maybe you go up into the mountains hunting and stuff like that and you don't want to carry a ton of weight. So we looked on Amazon and we found the top 5 rated different category type fire starters. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a test for that and we'll show you the setup on that. But what we want to do is we want to test how easy it is to use, how efficient the burn is. So we've got a little bit of a test for that. And then we're going to try to do the best we can to simulate some inclement weather. And then at the end of the video, we're going to rate them and give you our thoughts on the pros and cons of each. Also at the end of the video, we're going to give you some instructions on how you can win some of this, some of the stuff that we're going to be using in the video. So we'll take a look at the 5 starters that we got, and I'll kind of tell you why we picked what we picked. We'll kind of start from lowest technology to the highest technology, if you will. So the first one that we picked is it's a bow drill kit, but this is really just a manual friction type system. This goes back probably to ancient times. It's basically a string on a pole, and you go back and forth and you just create friction with that, and then you get a little bit of a hot amber off of the piece of wood that you're doing it on, and you put that on your tinder. So this is really manual. It'll be interesting to see how this works. So the next one is a fire steel. This particular one is Light My Fire. It's basically a magnesium ferrule rod. So you just strike this and it shoots off really hot sparks. Typically, if you get this aimed right, that's probably the hardest part of this one, is just getting it so that that spark shoots into the tinder properly to get started. But usually if you hit this, it almost starts immediately. The next one is probably the least complicated out of all of them, but this is basically a Zippo lighter or a Bic lighter without the lighter fluid. It's got the sparking wheel on the top. It comes with paraffin soaked pieces of tinder in here. This is probably one of the least expensive starters that we have. The next one is about as straightforward as you can get. These are just waterproof matches. Fairly long match. You strike it on the container right here. Surprisingly enough, these are matches. They're pretty straightforward, but because of the underwater technology and that type of stuff, they're fairly expensive. I think these were a little over $20 for 12 of them. So use sparingly and don't go camping. I'd say more than 6 nights, because I bet you need more than 1 each night. Anyhow, we'll see how these perform. Probably the highest priced starter that we got, or lighter that we got, is this TACAMO arch lighter. And it also has an LED light in it. But this is, you charge this with a USB charger. It opens on the side, and you're not going to be able to see this. We'll show some close-ups. But when I hit the start button on this, it just automatically uses the electric current on it. And it doesn't look like something you'd want to touch when you hit the start button. So we'll see how this works as well. This one you can probably imagine was the most expensive. I think this was close to $50. And then we just have some other supporting things that we bought on Amazon as well. We've got some different types of tinder. So this is just probably like coconut, shredded coconut or something like that, shredded wood. It's just real dry. And then we bought some of these little buggers, and they're like just little cotton tinders. You pull these apart and they work really good. Once you get them started, they burn a little bit slower than like the hair. We did spend a little bit of money online and we got this wood. So full disclosure, this is soaked with some type of an accelerant. We're only using this as part of the fire building. We'll use the exact same wood for all the starters. So we'll try to keep this test as fair as possible. And just keep in mind, I'm not an expert at using any of this stuff, so chances are you're gonna see me using them for the first time in the video. So let's get over and check out the setup. All right, so here's our setup. We've got a little fire pit that we made here. We've got a couple of dowels up on the top. We've got a piece of string. It's probably about 7 or 8 inches above the bed of the fireplace. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our tinder that we showed you, and then just for safety, of course, we've got a bucket of water here, and we've got a fire extinguisher. And this would probably be a good time to say, I really want to do this unless you have a way to extinguish the fire and you're set up in a safe area. You know, adult supervision for sure, doing something like this. All right, let's let's get off to test number 1. Okay, so this one's all about friction. So we got to get going back and forth pretty quick, and we do it on top of a board that they give you that has a little bit of an indentation for the end of the dowel, and then it has a notch in it. And what's supposed to happen is it creates friction. It's going to knock a little ember out of that notch. So let's see what happens. Hopefully I don't have a heart attack pushing this thing back and forth, but we'll get started and see if we can get it going. I'm going to make sure it's on top of our kindling good, and I'm going to start going back and forth here. So you can see already, part of the trick is to keep this thing on the one side. Now I got a knot in it somehow. Oh boy. I see smoke. Gah! Had it going, guys. Everything just blew apart. Gosh dang it. Now we gotta start all over. I already don't like that this top doesn't stay on, because that just looks like stuff to get lost. And now we gotta get going again here. Maybe I'm pushing too hard. Maybe I just gotta. I'm about done with this thing already. String just broke. Okay, so that's a Piscook, whatever it is. Look, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm not an expert at this stuff. I'm sure if you use it a lot, it probably works great. But you can see now the string broke loose on ours. I don't even think we're gonna get to the fire part with this. But what's really interesting is we didn't even know we were gonna get this, but they sent a flint starter in here with this. And I mean, I don't mean to be, I kind of think I know why they sent it now. If you guys know how to use this, if anybody out there knows how to use this properly, let me know in the comments. If you want to go camping and you want to have something reliable to start a fire with. And I just, right now with this, I'm not seeing that. So I'm going to give this a score of 0. Maybe we'll use it with one of the other starters to see how big the flame we can get. But I'm not impressed. We're done with that one. All right, the next one is going to be the Light My Fire. And this is the ferro rod. Let's see what happens. Okay, so now we'll put a little kindling on. We're just using a little basic box fire. But the comment I will make about this is you can see how quickly that started the tinder. I mean, I just had to get a good shot on it. And some of that first couple of times was user error. And once I got a good spark on it, it took right off. So that one was pretty good. We're going to go ahead and get this fire out, and then we'll get to the next one. It took about 4 minutes for that one. So that one gets 10 points on that test. Okay, the next one is the Zippo fire kit. This one comes with a little paraffin wheel, a soaked wheel. Looks like just cotton. Tells you to put that on a stick through the hole in the middle. So we'll go ahead and put that on. And then we'll go ahead and take our Zippo. There is a direction on the top that you're supposed to shoot the sparks out, so there's an arrow. So they also tell you to peel this open a little bit. So we'll peel that open and we'll shoot some sparks in there and see what happens. That one started up pretty quick, 1 notch. So we'll go ahead and lay that in here. We'll go ahead and get our little box fire going. I will say, when you pull this little cotton ball apart and you hit the sparker on here, it does ignite instantly. So that's pretty impressive. This did a lot better than I thought it was going to do, I have to be honest. And you guys can tell that wood from Amazon that we got. And we'll put the links for everything down below, but you can tell it's soaked in something, because I'm sure you'll be able to see it in the video. You can see the black smoke, there's no doubt. All right, we're getting to our string here. It's getting close. Got a little more wind moving around on this. There we go. So that one's pretty good. We'll check the footage and let you know exactly how far, but that's another 10. Let's try the next one. All right, the next one we're gonna do are the waterproof matches. So we'll go ahead and get one of those out. That's a pretty serious looking match there. I'm wondering what's gonna happen when I strike this. Let's go ahead and see what happens. This almost reminds me of a sparkler, you guys. I don't even know if we need kindling on this one. It smells just like a sparkler when I was a kid. Yeah, one thing I noticed about this, the kindling that we got from Amazon that's soaked with whatever it's soaked with, the accelerant, I don't think I'd be cooking hamburgers and hot dogs on this. But it's good for this test. It just makes everything equal and it makes sure we get a good fire going. So I would definitely, we'll put the link in there, but I would definitely do some reading before I cooked over it, that's for sure. Common sense tells me that much smoke, I don't want to eat it. All right, there we go. So this will be another 10 because that certainly was less than 5 minutes, that's for sure. We're gonna wait until the night to do the USB charging one because I want you guys to be able to see the top of it and how that works, the arc starter. So we're gonna let it get dark and then we'll get back at it. All right, we just got back from a great dinner and now we've got the TACAMO, and this is called an arc lighter. So what happens is when I push this button, hopefully you'll be able to see that in the camera. So we'll go ahead and see how this does. Kindling ready to go, and I'm just going to touch this down on that and we'll see what happens. Holy cow, that was fast. That didn't do much at all. So we'll go ahead and get our fire set up here and get a little bit of kindling on there. Probably put too much wood on there. That's on me, that one. Let's do that again quick. I shouldn't have piled that wood on there so fast I smothered it. So let's try that again. So there we go. And we'll be a little more gentle this time. I do know enough about fires that you got to let them breathe a little bit, get some oxygen, or they won't burn real good. I gotta say the string we got's pretty resilient to fire. It's gonna go any second here. And there it goes. So again, you know, that was pretty obvious that was gonna happen in under 5 minutes. Super easy to use. So let's go ahead and get this fire out and then we're gonna submerge all of these in water and see what happens. All right, we got done testing the ability of the starters, how good they were at starting a fire. We had one fail, and you'll see for the waterproof test, it's not here. If it doesn't work when it's dry, it's certainly not gonna work when it's wet. All of these advertise that they're waterproof, which means they should be able to be submerged in water for a period of time and still work. I was lucky enough to talk the cameraman out of doing the fire starting under a sprinkler because the concept really is whether or not after these are wet, will they start a fire? Regardless of whether you have one match or you've got a blowtorch, you have to have dry kindling and dry tinder in order to start a fire. So the important part for us to know is after these are submerged in water, will they still start a fire? So we filled up our fish tank here with water. We just, nothing scientific, we got them tied to a piece of string and around a rod or an old fence post. And we're gonna go ahead and submerge these in the water, and then we're gonna leave them for a while, and then we're gonna go back over and see if we can get some fire started. So I'm gonna go ahead and dunk these in the tank. So we got some of them that are gonna float, and we're gonna let them float because that's what they advertise. And we see bubbles coming out of the most expensive starter here. So we'll go ahead and let those in there, and we're not going to submerge the Zippo or the matches because they say that that's designed to float. What we can do is on the matches, it's got the starter strip. We'll go ahead and flip that down and make sure that gets good and wet. And we're going to go ahead and let this sit. I didn't like the idea that I saw bubbles coming out of that arc one, but that's my favorite one, and I'm going to be really bummed if it doesn't work.
We're giving it away.
Oh yeah, that's one we're going to give away if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll free shipping. It's been 30 minutes. We've got our starters soaking in the aquarium. So we're going to go ahead and pull those out, and we're going to go see if we can light some tinder with them. All we're going to do is see if we can get some tinder going and to see if the starter will still work. We're not going to do a full fire and everything. So the first one is the ferro rod and the scraper. So let's go ahead and see what we can do with that. So there you go. This one, all it took was maybe 6 or 7 scrapes to get back down to the metal again. And once it started going, it's working again. So we'll give this one, I'll give it a 9 out of 10 because it took just a little bit of time. Now we'll try the Zippo. This one has 2 compartments. So there's one underneath to keep the tinder in. So we'll get that out. And then the red lid exposes our wheel. That looks pretty good. That's still sparking. So we'll go ahead, and the tinder inside's good and dry, so I think this is going to work fine. So we'll get that just tore up a little bit on the end of there, and I'll go ahead and see what happens. So that one worked great. That one started right up. So the sparking wheel stayed dry in the water, and the tinder that they give you with it stayed dry as well and worked. So that I'd give a 10 out of 10. That worked on the first try. Okay, now we're going to try the waterproof matches. This one's going to be a little bit interesting because I'm curious to see if the striker pad works when it's wet. So we'll go ahead and open this one up, and the matches are nice and dry in here, so no water inside, but we'll go ahead and strike this and see what happens. Okay, so on this one it looked like maybe the matches survived, but our striker pad did not, so it can't get wet. I'm going to kind of ding this one a little bit, but I do know that they give you an extra striker pad inside. Okay, so I opened it up and I got out a new striker. They actually give you 2 extra ones, so we'll go ahead and see if that works. And with the new striker, the matches worked fine. So, and again, you can see that is kind of like a sparkler. My main comment about this one is obviously the container is waterproof, but this being on the outside is not. So that means you would have to take this off when you're not using it and keep it inside the container. For that reason and that reason alone, I'd probably give this one maybe a 7. All right, our final one is the arc lighter. The flashlight still works on it, so that's a good sign. So you're gonna watch it just like I do. I haven't pushed it yet, so this is the first time pushing it. And that worked great. I don't have any reason for this test to rate this anything other than a 10. That concludes the waterproofing test. Everything was waterproof, as they said, with a few little nuances here and there, but I've got to say all 4 of these were waterproof. All right, so we've done the fire test, we did the waterproof test, and now I'm just going to go through and give you my evaluation of ease of use, being a novice. I've never used these products before until we bought them, and we opened them basically today to do the testing. Starting with that, let's start with the bow. So this comes in the box. They gave you a flint starter as a backup, which I think you probably need in most cases. My overall thought is especially if I was in a survival situation, this would not be my choice for a fire starter. Mainly because it just is not easy to use, and if these strings get out of whack as far as the way they're supposed to be wrapped around here, it's not going to work. So holding in reserve that there's probably people out there that can use this, I'm going to rate this a 3. The next one that we did was the ferro rod. As far as easy use and packaging, it's pretty straightforward. You open up the package and you get your little scraper here that you rub down and the ferro rod. From an easy use and packaging and getting it to do something right away, to me this is a 9 out of 10. The next one, the Zippo, got to be honest with you, when I first saw this in the package, I was the most skeptical about this. It's super easy to use. If you have these and to use, it works great. I did try it on some of the other tinder that we had, and I couldn't get anything started with just this wheel on the top. So as long as this is complete and you have those, it's very easy to use and very straightforward. Because you have to have those little pellets in there, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. The next one are the waterproof matches. Look, they work great. So as advertised, this is waterproof, and as long as that striker pad's dry, it's super easy to use. This is fail-safe. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10 for ease of use. The TACAMO electronic lighter, it can't get much easier, and this one has a pretty good flashlight on it, so I can't knock it for that. Ease of use, look, you just pop this down, open it up, push this button, and it's lighting. 10 out of 10. All right, so from a versatility standpoint, what I mean by that is ease of packing, how much space it takes up, how many uses you can get out of it, what different elements, or situations make it harder or easier to use. So I'll start with the bow. Again, just not a good experience with that. And I feel like even if you're really good at that and you're in a stressful situation, to try to get a fire lit quickly, it's going to be a struggle. So I'm going to, again, score that low and give that like a 2 for versatility. The flint, that from a packing standpoint, it's very compact. You can put that in your backpack. You can put that in a lot of different compartments. It's just really small. I will tell you that you'll see that it does, as you scrape, you're actually scraping material off of there. So it's not like it's a friction type thing where it's going to last forever. That particular unit, I would give that a 9. And the only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because there is a little bit of technique in there. And I think if you were in a situation where you're really cold, your hands were cold, or you were in a stressful situation where you were kind of frantic, I think that could be a little tough. And you have to have really fine tinder for that to catch. The Zippo, that one, again, from compactness and all that type of stuff, it's great. It's very small. You can put that in your backpack and store that in a lot of different places. Works really easily as long as you have those paraffin-soaked little pieces of tinder that they give with you in there. But the one concern about that is maybe you do get stranded and you need to light 8 or 9 fires, and it only comes with 5 of those. And it's very difficult. Somebody might know another technique to get that little wheel to start, but if you just have regular tinder or something that you could find out in the woods to start a fire, I think that one would be difficult to start a fire with. Because of that inability to light anything else other than those, I'm going to give that particular starter an 8. The matches, compact, easy to pack, not a problem there. I think if you're in a really stressful situation, you can strike that match really easy and start that. So I don't see an issue with that. If your hands are cold and kind of numb, I still think you could strike that match really easily on there. The downfall on that starter is that striker pad is mounted on the outside of that tube. And even though it basically disintegrated when we put it in the water, I'm pretty sure it's going to do that if you're in a situation where at night you get a heavy dew, moisture, anything like that, because it's just basically a piece of sandpaper. And for that reason, I'm just going to knock at 1 point. I'm going to give that one a 9 for versatility. And finally, the electronic lighter. Compactness, this is probably the most compact, this and the ferro rod. You could have other kinds of tinder. So if you had a little bit of cotton, or if you even had to tear part of your shirt or something like that in a situation, this is continuous, so you can hold that on there and it'll get that material going. My only knock on this is that it's electronic and it has to be charged. There's really no indicator on here to tell you that it needs to be charged other than going to use it and it not working. And I'm going to give this one, from a versatility standpoint, a 9 as well. Overall versatility, all 4 of these, in my opinion, if you have them charged, if you take care of that striker paper, if you make sure you have the paraffin, in my mind, from that standpoint, they're all, at the end of the day, 10s. But I had to rate them for different things, and that's where we're at. Okay, from a time standpoint, the worst performing starter was the bow. So the string broke. All the other starters got the fire going and burned the string in under 5 minutes. The water test, the two top performers from that group were the Zippo and the electric. From an ease of use standpoint, again, the bow was the worst. The best were the matches and the electric. And again, just how simple they are. And then the last category was versatility. And in that group, again, the matches and the electric scored the best. After you take all of those scores and add everything up, it was pretty close. The worst performing, or we'll give it a D and F, was the bow. The next highest was the Zippo and the matches from a time, water, ease, and versatility standpoint. The next one was the flint and steel. And the overall winner from the scores that we had was the electronic fire starter. Even though the electronic scored the highest, I think at the end of the day, if it were me and I was out camping and I was going to remote areas and I didn't want to carry a lot of matches and I wanted something compact that I could confidently start a fire with, I would really get myself comfortable with the flint and steel, and that's what I would take, and that's probably what I would pack. And maybe I would pack it up as a backup to something like this, but I think I would always have that striker. I think as far as overall reliability, like day in and day out, that's probably would be my choice. But for ease of use, I'd pack this little baby in my backpack along with it, because I'd much rather, after a long day of hiking or hunting or fishing, I'd much rather come back and get a fire started as quickly and as easily as possible, and this is the best solution for that. We're going to give away the TACAMO electronic lighter to one of our viewers, and what you need to do is like, subscribe to the channel, and comment which one of the starters you like the best. There's a short list of rules right here on the screen, and then if you read in the description, you'll see a more detailed list. We'll leave this open for a certain period of time, and just like, subscribe, and tell us which lighter you like the best, and we'll be in contact. So thanks for watching. Really look forward to your comments. I'd love to hear what kind of fire starters you guys like using, and thanks for watching.